This edition of MacVoices is brought to you by Drobo. Simple, safe, expandable storage for your data. To get $90 off a Drobo Gen 3, Drobo 5D, or Drobo 5N, visit drobostore.com and use the offer code HOLIDAYCHUCK. Welcome back to MacVoices. This is the Talk of the Mac community. I'm Chuck Joyner. We have Jeff Carlson back on the line. He is the author of the new Photoshop Elements 13, Classroom in a Book from Peach Pit. There it is, and there he is. Jeff, it's great to have you back.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, we just did. You just did another book with Dan Moore, and now you're doing this. You're just an authoring machine.
It's been a busy fall. Yes,
it has, and this is interesting because you've tackled Photoshop Elements in the past. You're tackling it again in this book, and I always start out these discussions, I think, by asking who we should be talking to. Photoshop can be an intimidating program. Photoshop has an awful lot of power to it, but also a steep learning curve. Elements is Photoshop light?
Yeah. Originally, it was technically, basically Photoshop Lite, and what it's evolved into is its own standalone thing that is really geared for people who they want to be able to do photo editing more than just here's how to make a picture brighter or turn it black and white, or some of those basic adjustments you would get in, say, iPhoto or some other basic apps like that. I think it's also for the people who say, I need Photoshop, and they may not need all the features of Photoshop, but it's like I believe it costs $79, so it's definitely a friendly price point. And what you end up getting is basically full Photoshop, in the sense that it's like the Photoshop engine is running things underneath. It's not the exact same engine as, say, Photoshop 2014, because that's the big cash cow. That's what sort of drives all of this for the professionals. But what's underneath is probably maybe one generation, maybe two generations behind, which is still a huge scope of power and editing. And then what Adobe did was not just say, okay, here's Photoshop, but we've ripped out some features. What they've done is they've said, okay, here's Photoshop, and we're also going to build upon it modules and elements that will make it friendlier for people who, say, don't want to deal with histogram, or they want to be able to take advantage of a lot of the editing features that the Photoshop engine provides without having to become a Photoshop expert. So Photoshop Elements has like a guided mode, where it's basically telling you how to achieve certain effects, and underneath it you're doing the same thing that you could do manually in full-blown Photoshop or in the regular, like, expert editing interface, but it's doing a lot of that work for you. So one of the things that I really like about Photoshop Elements, it's genuinely one of those programs that like, things that a computer should be doing, the computer is doing. You're not having to know everything about layer masks or channels and all that stuff that normal people don't really need to know, when their goal is, I want to make my photos look better. I want to make the colors pop. I want to maybe repair something. There's a smudge or a hair or something like that got in the way. And so Photoshop Elements lets you do all that, and without having to pay for the full price and the full subscription for big Photoshop.
I love the fact that it guides you through it, as you're saying, because you're right. Layer masks and brushes and tools and all these things. And after a while, your head starts to spin and you think, okay, I am going to have to go take classes. And we all know that they're classes upon classes upon classes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking for something that just, okay, I want to improve the look of this picture. I want to fix an old picture or fix one that I took that is important to me, but a mistake was made somehow. And that's where this really shines without having to spend 3 weeks of learning to do it.
Exactly. And, it's also something where everything that you do in Photoshop Elements, you can use in the future if you decide that, what, I've either outgrown this or I have a specific need for getting the full version of Photoshop. Just off the top of my head, one of the things that Photoshop Elements doesn't do, it doesn't let you work with CMYK images. So basically images that are being prepared for print, because that's more of a professional action. And by print, I don't mean like printing glossy prints or doing a poster or something. I mean sending something to a printer. That's just a feature that they've pulled out. But everything leading up to that, you absolutely learn how to work with pixels, work with the editing tools. So if you do end up in a situation where you're suddenly doing more print work or design work and you need to transition to Photoshop, the full-blown version, you're not having to start over from scratch. It's all immediately familiar because you have a lot of the same interface, a lot of the same controls, a lot of the exact same menu commands, and you can just sort of get up and go. So in the past, someone would say, if you really want to do photo editing, you really need Photoshop. And that confused people. And I think that was, in a way, very good for Adobe because people would just buy the full-blown Photoshop, use maybe, 10% of the actual features, and then just sort of assume that everything else was beyond them. And so with Photoshop Elements, you can, learn either the small amount that you need, or you can, pick up those skills and, jump off from there.
I love that idea. And I love the idea that this also is an affordable version of Photoshop that you can put in the hands of young people or people that have a passive interest, and they're going to be willing to make that kind of investment as opposed to I understand with the subscription models, theoretically it's become a lot more affordable depending on which way you look at it, or it's become a lot more expensive. But this one, you kind of know what you're getting. You pay the price, you've got it, you can work with it, you can learn as much and use as much as you want or not, and not feel like you have wasted your money or wasted your time.
Exactly. And Adobe has said, I'm sure they've left the door open, but Photoshop Elements is not part of the subscription plans. They know that this is for people who don't want to deal with an ongoing expense, and so when you buy it, and that's yours. You don't have to deal with any of the Creative Cloud stuff. You can currently get a photographer's bundle that gets you full-blown Photoshop and Lightroom for $10 a month if you commit to at least a year. But that's still, you're paying $120 or so plus taxes, and a lot of people just don't need that. In fact, Photoshop Elements has a component called the organizer that does a lot of that sort of organizational component of photo management. So applying keywords and albums and things like that you can use that to build your library into, rather than also having to do Lightroom. It's certainly not as sophisticated as Lightroom, but definitely for someone who's just more casual, more recreational about their photos, it's a pretty good fit.
Yeah, thank you. You went one of the places I wanted to make sure we went, because Photoshop is not, I think most of the audience is going to be familiar. We'll find a common ground here with iPhoto, and iPhoto has some editing capabilities, but not anywhere near what Photoshop Elements has.
Right.
It has a lot of organizational elements that Photoshop Elements doesn't have. But the organizer is probably where you get those organizational elements. And then if you want to, am I right about this? If you want to step up to something a lot more sophisticated, that's where Lightroom comes in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't think that the organizer is the greatest tool out there for managing things. It has a little bit of an engineer's quality to it. Like for example, there's no good sense of having smart albums, which means like you can't easily say, all right, just show me all of my 3-star or higher photos taken in the last 6 months, the way that iPhoto or Lightroom or Aperture can do. You can do it, they just have it set up as a slightly different thing called a saved search. So, I've probably already like jumped 7, steps beyond what a lot of people using Elements might even be interested in using. So you can do things like that. It's just not as user-friendly in terms of the way iPhoto presents it, for example. But at the same time, there's a lot that you can do in terms of tagging, assigning geolocation data, all of those things, so that you have your photo library in one place that you can search, that you can look things up easily without having to dig through the folders in the Finder or on Windows Explorer, trying to sort of piece things together. Whereas you can use a tool like the organizer to actually again do the work for you, help you find things.
Do you cover the organizer in the book?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
There's a big section about it.
Right. I ask because I think that is something that in the zeal to fix that photo, enhance that photo, improve that photo that you just took, you overlook the fact that that photo is going to become part of a collection, and that collection in today's world is going to grow and grow and grow faster with your iPhone and digital cameras and all these things that you're constantly taking these images. So you need to pay attention to how you're organizing them so you can go back and find them again.
Right. And, it's also adaptable enough that, like, let's say you already have a photo library in iPhoto, and we know that iPhoto is going away sometime in the next year to be replaced by the new Photos app for OS X. But it's not gone now. It's going to be around for a while. If you already have that set up, that's fine. You can actually set iPhoto so that if you want to edit a photo, you can edit it using the Photoshop Elements editor component instead of using iPhoto's tools. So, the two can work together really well and give you the flexibility to, either make a real basic change, say, you just need to do some cropping, or reframe or straighten an image, up to being able to go and, fix specific things in a photo. You can combine multiple photos so that you get a shot where, say, everybody in the picture, they're all smiling, they all have their eyes open, even if that wasn't the reality when you took 5 or 6 shots. Things like that go beyond iPhoto's basic tools.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the guided things. I'm not quite sure if they're recipes, or if that's a good way to think of them, or guided edits. I've seen the books that have the Photoshop recipes, which I think are fascinating. And the first thing I think is, how do these people ever figure out how to do all this stuff? Because some of them seem very counterintuitive, but they end up with a great result. So give us some examples other than the one that you just gave of what can be accomplished here pretty easily by mere mortals like me.
Well, like for example, if you wanted to, just sort of do some basic edits. Actually, I'm just going to launch here in the background so that I actually sound like I'm making sense. You know, the thing with the other thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, for example, if you wanted to, you know, perform like a quick edit by, you know, either just having smart fixes applied, or you want to, for example, bring up some of the shadow detail in a photo. That frequently happens. You may have something where you know, either the entire photo is underexposed, or maybe, you know, the foreground had to be underexposed because the background would have been too bright if you had shot it any brighter. So you know, you could use a tool like the lighting tool has a component that lets you just bring out those shadows. You know, you can also do that by, you know, manipulating different levels and layers and things like that. In terms of like sort of recipes and things, there are options to, for example, correct skin tones, and you know, it'll step you through the tools to grab and sort of, you know, tell you like, okay, you know, use the eyedropper to click on, you know, someone's face to establish a skin tone, and then that, you know, adjust the white balance in the image. Things like that. Let's say, you know, if there's a color cast on the image, let's say, you know, due to some sort of environmental lighting, maybe everything's just a little bit too green. You know, it has like, you know, you follow the 2 or 3 steps, and it will tell you exactly how to get rid of that, so that you're not just sort of fumbling about going, well, maybe I just need to pull the green out. Well, you know, maybe pulling green out doesn't quite do the trick. So things like that you can find. And then they also have like photo effects. There's one called Black and White Color Pop, which lets you, you know, basically choose one item to have remain in color, and everything else goes black and white. So you get that effect that, you know, really draws your eye to one thing. What else do they have? Oh, there's like an out of bounds effect, which is just, you know, it's kind of goofy, but it looks like somebody is jumping out of a picture frame. And, you know, because Photoshop Elements isn't just about making your photos correct. Like, you can do all sorts of, you know, scrapbooking and photo manipulation, and you can, you know, clone people. So you've got 7 different people in the same scene, and, you know, all sorts of things that are possible. And this gives you, you know, a like here's a step-by-step method of going about doing this. And then once you've done it, you can switch to the expert mode, and it'll be there with all of the layers and all the things that if you had done it manually, it's already set up for you.
I love that. I love the fact that it's not necessarily a serious tool, as in not as serious, powerful, but serious. You can have a little fun with it, and that's something that I think more and more people should do, with whether they're playing with their photos on their iPhone or their iPad, or pulling them into the Mac to do some of this stuff with. You can just have fun with them, and it is fun. It is fun to take it and then share it with someone you care about, or somebody just, you know, to share it in public on Instagram. Yeah, a lot of fun stuff here.
Yeah, and you know, that's sort of one of the other appeals to Photoshop Elements is, you know, like Adobe wisely realized that people didn't want to just do the basics, and, you know, like, I think when we all first sort of became generally aware of Photoshop, or when most people did, you know, like the idea of Photoshop was, oh, I can take someone's head and put it on somebody else's body, like those kind of effects, and that's entirely possible. I don't think there's anything in the book that specifically tells you how to switch heads.
Good.
Well, There kind of is, actually.
Oh, okay.
There's a I'd have to find it again.
Let's go to the Switching Heads chapter, Jeff.
Yeah, exactly. Where's the Switching Heads chapter? But there are tools in here for like, for example, there's a great step-by-step covering a new tool called Photo Merge Compose. So let's say you have two photos and you want to merge them together, like there's some sort of element in one that you want to add to the other. Well, one way you could do that is you could go in and open both images and make a selection around one item. In this case, like there's a pumpkin field. Let's say you want to add some pumpkins, like some more pumpkins to a scene that doesn't have them, that happened at the same time. So this gives you a way to do that without having you just sort of try to figure it out on your own. So that sort of thing where, you can take different pieces from other photos and put them together, and you can either do it for, a very deliberate artistic way, or you can, adjust the selections and make it so that it looks like it's photorealistic, and that's how the scene was originally. That sort of stuff.
Another feature I've read about, because I haven't had my hands on this version yet, is the Facebook tool, I guess, or the Facebook process, which I think is, I give Adobe credit. This is brilliant, because everybody wants to improve their social media presences and do some of these cool things. And, you go to someone else's page and you look and think, wow, how did they do that? Where did they download that? And then you find out they created it, and then you feel like a complete slob. So now you can be the one that's making other people feel like a slob because you've got all this power in this new tool.
Exactly. This is definitely something when, I started using it when the app was still in beta, and when they announced that, one of the new features was this Facebook tool. And, I have to admit, I was like, wait, I don't understand what specifically about Facebook. And what it does is it lets you customize your profile photo and the profile banner that appears at the top of your profile page, because it turns out people upload photos to Facebook all the time. Facebook, I can't remember what the current stats are, or at least from a couple of years ago, but Facebook handles just a staggering amount of images every day, like millions, or maybe even billions, probably not billions, but at least hundreds of millions of photo material every day. And if you use Facebook, you notice every once in a while, your friends will have pop up a nice big picture, and it says that they've changed their profile image. And it's because people want to express themselves either in their little headshot or on their profile page. Well, one of the things that you can do using this tool, it will correctly size the images as needed, and it has some templates so that you can say, make like a family collage of different pictures together. Excuse me. Or you can be clever and take an image so that when you're looking at the profile banner, your profile picture fits in with the banner, and it all works out. And there have been, people who do very clever things where, like you see their head next to their posts, but then when you go to their profile, you see that maybe, there's a dinosaur about to grab them or something like that. Sorry, hit the light. And Facebook makes it, I'm sorry, not Facebook, Elements makes it really easy to do that. It sizes everything for you. It positions everything for you. It doesn't upload everything for you, because I think that there's a security mechanism. But it tells you, okay, now that you have these, there's a little movie that plays. Here's how to actually add them, and boom, you're done, without having to fumble through it if you wanted to do something creative as you would without Elements.
MacVoices is sponsored by Drobo. Simple, safe, expandable storage for your data. Drobo is the perfect gift for someone you care about, for yourself, for the holidays, for any occasion, or just any time, really. With Drobo, you're giving the gift of data safety. In our increasingly digital lives, there are few things more precious. Digital assets such as family photos, videos, and the like are both convenient yet fragile, since one little hard drive mishap can destroy them. That's why you need Drobo, and that's why the Gen 3 Drobo is the perfect Drobo for most. First, you get 4 bays of hard drive goodness that can grow with your storage needs. Right now, you might only have a few hundred gigs of photos. With that shiny new iPhone 6 for the holidays, though, you're going to add to that quickly. And then there are the videos, which take up even more space and are even more precious as the years pass. And let's not forget all your scanned documents since you've gone paperless, the different family projects that will take shape in the new year, and that novel that you've been writing, and writing, and writing. Took more photos than you thought? Started your very own epic movie? That space might get used up quickly. Just slide one of your smaller drives out, a larger drive in, and keep on moving. No need to shut the Drobo down, or do any formatting, or any of that other annoying technical stuff. Just swap drives and keep on producing. All that information you've trusted to hard drive storage on your Mac could go away with just one failure, but not with Drobo. The 3rd generation Drobo can be set up to protect you if 1 or even 2 drives fail. The Drobo will alert you to the problem through its set of easy-to-understand traffic signal-like lights. Green means go, yellow means you're running low on space, and red indicates you've had a hard drive failure and need to take action. No digging through error messages to figure out what the problem is or which drive failed. You'll know at a glance. There's lots more to like about the Gen 3 Drobo. First, there's the super speed USB 3 connectivity. Data moves to and from your Drobo quickly, not like that old USB 2 drive you dread using. The new dual-core microprocessor makes it feel even faster too. And the engineers at Drobo have even included a small SSD cache and internal battery to protect your data while it's being written to the drive, just in case the power goes out while you're saving your doctoral dissertation or the math homework. Versatility is the Gen 3 Drobo's middle name. It can be directly connected to your Mac, or to a Mac Mini or other older Mac to create a file server or an iTunes server for your family or small office. Or create a specialized volume with the easy-to-understand Drobo dashboard and use it as an optimized time machine. If you own a previous generation of Drobo, you know what I'm talking about. Drobo hasn't forgotten you either. Moving to a Gen 3 Drobo is easy. Just shut down your old Drobo, move the disks over to the new Drobo, and everything is right where you left it, except that it's now faster. A lot faster. That's a whole lot of bang for the buck. You can get a Gen 3 Drobo for $349. But I can make the bang even bigger. If you go to drobostore.com/MacVoices and use the code HOLIDAYCHUCK, all uppercase please, you can save $90 off your Gen 3 Drobo, making it one of the best values out there for the holiday season. Or use that same code and take $90 off the 5-bay network-attached Drobo 5N or the 5-bay Thunderbolt connected 5D. No matter which Drobo you select, your data is safer, your drive space expandable, and your ease of use unparalleled. Again, that's $90 off the Gen 3 Drobo, Drobo 5N, or Drobo 5D at drobostore.com/MacVoices with the code HOLIDAYCHUCK. Order yours and start 2015 with more secure data. Drobo, simple, safe, expandable storage for your data. Thanks to Drobo for their support of MacVoices. Something I think that happens with programs like Elements, they actually end up making you a better photographer because you start to look at other things that you want to accomplish and realize, okay, these are the kind of shots I need to take out there to bring back here to get it done. It's real tempting to, okay, I'm going to go take a shot of my house and my car and the neighbor's dog, and I'm going to do all this together, and you can do it. But if you once you do it once or twice, you think, well, it would be better if I had this angle of the house, this angle of the car, and a close up of the dog. And so I think that it does, by playing with this stuff and taking the training that you provide along with what Adobe gives you, you just end up better the whole way around. You end up with a new set of skills.
Yeah, definitely. And this is a good opportunity to point out this is a classroom in a book. So it's designed for for being used in a classroom, or for someone to start at the beginning and go through these steps. Most of the images in the book are available for download, so you can actually be doing the steps on the images as they're being described in the book, and that it doesn't have that separation of, okay, try to find a photo that's kind of like this and follow along, which is sort of necessary in a lot of books. Even books I've written, because you can't just provide everything and you want to encourage people to work on their own stuff. But in this case, it's very much okay, like do this and now do this and now do this and then do this. And in this area, like if you want to set the white balance of this photo, click in this specific spot next to the, this necklace, for example. And so you're getting the feedback right away. You know what it should look like. You know what the end result should be, and you're building your skills step by step, rather than sort of a hodgepodge of, okay, well, maybe I'll do this and maybe I'll do that. It's very much like you are going to class, and there are bonus questions at the end that help you focus on what's important in the chapter, and then quite often those things lead into the next chapter. For example, like learning how to perform selections then gives you the skills to go and do more advanced editing on backgrounds and foregrounds and things like that.
I'm so glad you reminded me of that, because I'd kind of forgotten. We talked about the title and then we walked right away from it. So yeah, that is nice. There are too many books out there that they go through the menus, they go through the tools, and they say, okay, this is what you can accomplish with this tool, and then that's it. It's like,
Yeah.
Well, how do I go about doing that? If I have a hammer, I can probably figure out how to drive a nail. But if I have some of these brushes and tools and everything, it's like, well, okay, how do I apply them, and what other effects are there? And yeah, Jeff, how long would it take me to work my way through the classroom if I was treating it as like going to a class?
Yeah. I think each chapter, each chapter has a little recommendation, and most of them are, like set aside, 1 to 2 hours to complete this. I think a couple of the chapters in the back, as it's dealing with slightly more advanced techniques, might recommend more time. It's certainly nothing that says, all right, you need to, block off an entire weekend and do this front to back, or else it's not gonna sink in. You can definitely do that if that's best for your schedule or whatever. But it's also realistic about, okay, in order to learn this skill, it's going to take about 30 minutes to 60 minutes, to do whatever is being described in the chapter.
Good. So I'm going to go through these chapters, and it's going to be just like you're teaching me.
Exactly. Yeah, and there are, I want to say 12 chapters. No. 10 chapters.
Okay, so that's 10 chapters, and an hour at 10 would be 10 hours. So
yeah,
I can get through this in a weekend if I'm pretty dedicated, or I can stretch it out over a couple weeks, or just spread it out as I wish.
Sure, definitely.
That's good. Jeff, again, because this is a classroom thing, other than just knowing how to operate a Macintosh, do I really need to come to this with any photographic knowledge, or are we talking pretty much from the ground up here to enhance photos?
It's pretty much from the ground up. And I should point out it covers Windows and Mac, but these days they're almost identical. And I say that just because our viewers might have some Windows using relatives that we have to have pity on, and so. Tempting to make a joke. I forgot your question.
No, I think yeah, I forgot the question too. I think it was that they're going to teach you this. You can go through this sort of at your own pace.
Yeah. It's at your own pace, and you don't have to have any aspirations of being a photographer or having any particular skill level, because it's really covering the wide gamut of photography. If all you're really looking to do is make some reframing and straightening issues, you can do that. If you find that all of your shots are a little underexposed, going through these steps and learning how to make these adjustments, will theoretically help you see what the results of your own photos compared to the example photos. So that will hopefully encourage you to shoot at a better aperture, or something that when you see the results of what the book offers and you can compare them to the photos that you take, I think most people will pick up on, oh, okay, I need to shoot brighter. I need to think more about my composition. Those types of things that can encourage being a better photographer. But you don't have to be a good photographer in order to use Photoshop.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think it does. I think
good.
it
Okay.
does. And I think that goes back to what I said before, the idea that this teaches you to be a better photographer because you start to understand trends, maybe things that you do or that you do that are bad, that you shouldn't do, or that are good and that you should do more of.
Yeah. And and what's also nice, again, having the sample images, the sample images are not necessarily good photos. They oftentimes they become good photos as you learn how to manipulate them, but they don't always start off as good photos. They usually start off as something that's fine. Or something that definitely has a specific thing that's wrong with it, and that I think helps helps the reader get a better eye for a better eye for what makes a good photo, and how to spot things that need correcting that may not have been noticed before.
Shifting back to one technical question that I wanted to make sure that I ask, does Photoshop Elements work on raw images, or are we strictly talking JPEG?
Oh no, it's actually great for raw images because it includes Adobe Camera Raw. Sorry, let me back up. Adobe Camera Raw is basically like a separate image processor that's just for raw images, and it integrates with Elements. This is the same with the full-blown version of Photoshop. When you open a raw image, it actually opens in Adobe Camera Raw, which has its own very similar interface, but it's sort of like going through an initial gateway before you get to the other editing features. And so the version of Adobe Camera Raw that ships with Photoshop Elements has the same engine, has the same raw image profiles and all of that. It just doesn't have a lot of the more advanced controls that you'll find in the full version of Photoshop. So you can absolutely do all sorts of raw processing. In fact, with some images, if you're shooting raw, you may find that you do all of your adjusting in Camera Raw, and then you save it, and then you're done. Or you'll do a lot of your color adjustments in Camera Raw, and then when you click OK, then you can do things like make spot adjustments or spot repairs, things like that.
Good to know. Good to know. And that's even better, because now I think a lot of us have always heard that, well, if your camera shoots raw, you should be shooting in raw because you can do so much more with it on the editing. And so now I'm learning about how to edit raw as well as JPEGs, and I'm doing it right there in actual raw images. So that's great. That's great.
And one of the reasons why that's exciting is just because, you actually are using the professional tools that professional photographers are using. It's just you may not have access to a lot of the higher end features. But you're using Adobe Camera Raw, and you're not having to pay the whole subscription to do it. It's already right there built in.
And I think there are some analogies that apply here too. If you go and you decide you're going to get a bunch of tools, I mean, you don't need 42 screwdrivers and 10 different kinds of hammers. You need to start out with the basics that apply to what you want to do, and then maybe as you get that, to do this new project, okay, you got to go and get that new tool or get that extra bit for the screwdriver or the drill or whatever. So yeah, I like this idea that I'm coming in here, you're teaching me in an organized fashion, and you're teaching me with the sample images as well, so that everything is as controlled as you can make it. But I can still throw in some of my own things if I want to, and maybe play with it a little bit. And we're right back to that whole play thing.
Yeah, definitely. The hope is you'll use the sample image, you'll go through the steps, you'll see how it works, and that will click enough recognition so that the next time when you, let's say for example, you open a Camera Raw photo of a portrait that you've taken of somebody, like you'll be able to see, okay, here are some highlights that I may have missed before, but I know how I can dampen that sort of like white hot shine that you can sometimes get on people's skin, or here's how I can bring up the background so that it's not just sort of this mass of darkness, but pull some detail out of that because you did something very similar to an image that was already provided with the book.
Right. Okay, so I get somewhere between 10 and 20 hours of training. I get the enhanced, I get all these sample images, I get the Jeff Carlson expertise, all of this, and how much does it cost me? And can I get it I can get it as a paper book because I saw it. Can I get it as an ebook as well?
Yes, you can. Yeah. So the cost is $49.99, and that's if I can show if this works really well. Like we're talking, nice full color, good paper. It's a nice big, easily carried, easily read type of volume. You can also get it as a PDF, or I'm pretty sure there's a Kindle version, and you can get it at the iBook store. If you buy it through Peachpit, you can either buy electronic versions or print versions, but they also have a bundle version. So you can buy the bundle, and while you're waiting for the print book to be shipped to you, you can start right away working on the PDF version. And I will say, here's my little sales pitch. Peachpit gave me a code. So if you buy from Peachpit and you use the code EL13CIB, Classroom in Book, you get a 35% discount. It's valid for the print and ebook versions. And it's from now until next March, I think. So get it.
Get it. Yeah, definitely get it. Definitely get it. I mean, Jeff's worked hard on this, folks. You should go ahead and get it. Jeff, what do you do about the sample images, and do you download those off the web?
You do, yeah. I believe it's been a while since I've done this because I set it up a long time ago. You create an account at peachpit.com, and then it knows that you have purchased the book, or you say that you've purchased it, and then I think, actually no, I take that back. I'm making things too complicated. You can actually just go to the website for this title and there's a tab at the bottom that says like sample content. And I believe you can download the images from there. I don't have it in front of me, so this is just working on my caffeine-addled brain and memory. But yeah, it's very easy to download the images, and I'm sort of proud to say that it's not just like here are 5 images from the book. You're downloading several hundred megabytes of sample images and things. In fact, like the first couple of chapters, which cover the organizer, the book encourages you to create basically a test catalog and just fill it with those images, so you're not having to pick things out among your own images. Follow the steps and then close that catalog and create your own, so that you don't have things mingled. And it's a lot of the work that you do in the first couple of chapters flows through, and you pick up those images in later chapters. So it all works well together. But there are I can't remember how many images total, but easily 30, 40, possibly more total images to work with. So it's a bounty of imagery.
Well, and it's nice because you don't get. I'm sure you get a lot of different experiences using all the different images. So.
Yeah.
This sounds like it sounds like a fun book to work your way through. It sounds like you'll be accomplishing not only the improvements you want in your photos, but also some of the effects and some of the fun things that you would like to know how to do. And it's always fun to show some of that stuff off.
Yeah. I mean, I feel sort of bad because. Maybe not bad. I feel slightly guilty because I'm saying how well, this book is good because it has its own images, and unlike those other books that don't give you images. And I'm thinking, like, a lot of the books that I've written that don't give you images, it's kind of the nature of the beast, because not every book can have sample imagery, and it depends on the type of book, because this is a classroom in a book. You are basically coming to school, and the school is providing the materials that you need in order to learn. And that's one of the great advantages of this approach. Not only that it's a very specific step by step, but and also a step-by-step that builds on itself, but also that, like you have all of the pieces there that you need. You don't need to be like, oh, geez, I would love to, learn how to color correct a sunset, but I don't have any pictures of a sunset, so I have to skip this. You don't have to worry about any of that. It's all there. It's a nice, neat package.
That's a great point, and I hadn't really thought about that. I'm thinking of compositing and just improving images, and to do certain things, you absolutely have to have the right image to learn on, and you provide it.
Oh yeah. I mean, like for example, there are some great tools. One of my favorite tools in Elements. It's not new to this version. It's I want to say it came out in 2 or 3 versions ago. It's the photo merge. I just forgot the name. During testing, Adobe called it the photo merge tourist remover, because what it does is, let's say you're at a popular destination and you want to sort of minimize the amount of people who are walking around in the background. Well, if you take a picture and maybe there are like 10 people milling about in front of some sort of building that you want to take a picture of. Well, those people are eventually going to move. So if you take, say, 4 or 5 pictures, you can combine those in such a way that you can literally remove the people out of the frame and end up with something that looks like just your friend or your kid is standing in front of it alone, where in real life that would never happen because it's a popular place. So there are sample images in there that show you exactly how to all right, like take out this person by the door and take out this trash can, etc. That show you exactly how to do it without you having to go out and take those pictures.
Yeah, and those kind of things are always, when you see the what you start with and what you end with, they're always kind of amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now you can learn to do it yourself and then amaze other people.
Exactly.
Good job. So the best, I guess, we send them to Peach Pit to take advantage of the discount code, and I'll have that in the lower third and also in the show notes for easier reference. So if you go to MacVoices.com, you'll find out the link and the code to get that off. And it's great. Go get it. Have some fun with this. Hopefully there are a lot of people that have gotten new cameras for the holidays or will be getting new cameras for the holidays, depending on when you listen to this. And this is a great companion to help them get the most out of those cameras.
I would agree.
So you're going to take a little time off, Jeff, or are you diving back into the authoring machine?
Oh, I'm freelance, so I can't take too much time off without my boss telling me that I need to actually make some money. Yeah, my boss is kind of strict about that because that's me. So I'm definitely working on other projects. For example, my Take Control of Digital Photos book that I published with the Take Control folks. Somewhere on the horizon, we're going to update that. Just waiting for Apple to release its photos for OS X. That's sort of like the next big component to that. So that I'm writing a lot of articles. If you go to jeffcarlson.com, you'll find links to those. Because I've been writing a lot for lynda.com, and so just keeping busy. But what's actually sort of nice is I think for the first time in a while, I'm heading into the holidays without a giant overbearing deadline over my head. So I do actually get to enjoy some time without stressing about, oh geez, like, do I need to have this chapter done, et cetera. So
good.
It's probably too much information, but happy authors are good authors. So
well, and it also means that you'll be coming back here to talk about some of the other projects that are coming up or in the works. So that's great.
Definitely.
You're always welcome. We really appreciate all your efforts.
Oh, thank you.
We'll see you again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Happy holidays.
You too.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices. Please go to MacVoices.com. Check the show notes for this episode again to pick up Jeff's book with the 35% discount. And we'll have links in there to anything else, of course, to him, everything else he's doing, so you can watch his other projects before he gets here. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the Mac Voices blog. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the Mac Voices Dispatch, to stay up to date on all the latest Mac Voices news from our front page or at macvoices.com/newsletter. Do more with your Apple tech by subscribing to the free Mac Voices magazine on Flipboard by visiting macvoices.com/magazine. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.